Be careful what you wish for, Parker.
Hello, Peter.
So many hands.
All right, so let me pull up a high quality version of the trailer.
Honestly, I just want to let Ken rant for 10 minutes because I'm very curious from a Spider-Man fan with what he saw, with what you saw.
I have a lot of mixed emotions, and we can cover them as we go.
Those. All right,
Yeah.
so let me see. Let me find the screen to share. Come on, YouTubes.
Fuck you.
Damn it. You win again. You win the night, tubes.
They always do. Oh.
Yeah, I read those stories, both versions. Super heavy stuff. And I feel like, hold on, before we get into it, I just giving you guys a thing. I feel like they didn't cover half the stuff they could have in his like trilogy so far that would make all of that resonate. But we'll get into that. Let's see.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there. And that's I guess we're leading to that.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely feels like there was a shortcut taken here in the last 3 minutes of part 2.
All right. So I have the official trailer up with me.
Yeah, for all those who haven't watched Spider-Man Far From Home, please do so now. Pause this podcast, run over, start playing it right now, watch it on whatever media device, and then come back. And then we can discuss. Because
I apologize, but you're going to literally have to watch Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, The Amazing Spider-Man 1, 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, and Spider-Man Far From Home. Just go watch them all now.
Yeah, we'll play some lo-fi music.
Did you guys enjoy that? Like, I hope that was a really good viewing. I don't think you probably enjoyed parts of it because Tobey Maguire's not the best.
I mean,
actor.
Those may have been your best. Those may have been your most favorite parts.
You know what? You might be just high on the Sam Raimi of it all. He's a good director. Some said great. I would definitely venture that. I think his storytelling is really good. I think he was hamstrung with a less than adequate actor.
Ouch.
Yeah.
My favorite part was Macy Gray.
God. All that makes me think of is the MTV Music Awards where she comes out in the dress that says my album drops on that date, and then like Marlon Wayans makes fun of her and she flips him off on camera, and I'm like, that's really really crass there, Macy. I mean,
I liked it. I'm just it's MTV. They're shilling you. You shill right back.
That's fair.
I'm fine with it.
All right. So with that being said, we will get into this trailer just so we can get somebody's thoughts. I am going to, let me see. I think I have it queued up. So
stretch it out.
I'm hoping Ken's ready. That is going to be annoying audio, isn't it?
You can just take it down like just a notch above if you want like a faint sound of. That's one thing I find odd about teaser trailers now. They have that like 2-second beginning where it's like, hey, here's a preview for the teaser you're about to watch. Like, what are you
doing? Well, you got to tease the tease.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like.
I want to say pause.
Oh, look at this. This is a good one.
What's up? Well, I mean, it is pause.
Right.
He's asking you to pause it further.
I don't know if I can. It's like teasing the tease. Pause the pause.
What are the odds MJ's Mephisto? Just start this conversation now.
I mean, at this point, we should have Mephisto somewhere. I don't think it's going to be MJ, though.
All right. So, Peter?
I mean, that'd be the ultimate Mephisto move.
I mean, the real poll is if they swap in Mephisto in place of Doctor Strange or even Nightmare in place of Doctor Strange. That's the switch out. That's the... Because he's... I mean, we're going to get to it, but he's acting somewhat out of character, in my opinion.
Yes.
Doctor Strange is?
Yeah. Especially after maybe the first movie Doctor Strange, he was a little more like cocky and jovial and I'll do what I want to do. I'll try this out. But he's faced down Dormammu and I was about to say the Black Guard, but that's not the name. The children of
Thanos, Cull Obsidian, Black Order.
The Black Order, thank you. He's faced them down and Thanos, and there's been he's learned the stakes. And so that's definitely changed quite a bit. Like he's not just like, ha, devil may care. What's up? And it's like the devil may care.
Let's get to that point, because so far all we've seen so far is just the two of them chilling.
MJ's Mephisto. It's pretty clear to me.
Okay. We got them reading the paper. I mean, it's kind of interesting. They're relaxing after where we left off in Far From Home, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where they. I mean,
this is probably
right there.
Now.
Yeah. And then they like boom, he's right in here. And it's funny, some people are already talking about like, oh, he's under arrest. It's like, I wonder if Matt Murdock's going to get him off, get him released.
Here's the question: who arrests Spider-Man? That's like bringing in Captain America, like or Superman, like he has to come in.
He's just going to turn himself in. Come on.
So on their shirt it says DODC, Department of Damage Control. That's the team or the department that has a jurisdiction to clean up after a superhero battle. And so they do have a certain amount of jurisdiction. We saw them in the beginning of Spider-Man Homecoming. They took over control of the cleanup of the Avengers' first mission together, the incident in New York. So they're the current people on the scene. Like S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't know what's going on with that, because we don't know. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the show doesn't count technically, but I don't know. So right now there's no S.H.I.E.L.D., so the Department of Damage Control is likely the main point of.
Yeah, but
there is a S.H.I.E.L.D., though.
Not technically.
Not technically
there's sword
sanctioned. Oh, they're sword now. That's right. Okay.
And so it's like there's sword, but like they are also, I mean, by the comic book definition of sword, their interests are pointed outward.
Yeah.
Which is odd, because then they deal with what's going on with Wanda and WandaVision. So it's a lot of question marks, but essentially the people who are in that room are the Department of Damage Control.
Sword is head up. It's the one that's head up by what's his name, right?
It was headed up by dude who tries to shoot kids in public.
Yes. Child Murder McGee.
So wait, who is Thunderbolt working for then?
Thunderbolt Ross is working for like essentially the United Nations. I think they had another term, but they were essentially the United Nations.
I don't think well, then how was he working in conjunction with Black Widow?
He wasn't working in, like, he was trying to track her down.
Yeah.
He wasn't working with.
He had been given kind of carte blanche based on the events of Civil War to get him.
Well, yeah, they're right. That was for Civil War. I'm talking about Endgame though. Like he and her and War Machine were like working together, right?
So in let's say not in Endgame, in Infinity War, let's say the Resistance shows up and they go talk to Rhodey, and then Thunderbolt's like, no, get him out of here. They're a bunch of ne'er-do-wells. It's like, screw you, dude. And he's against them. So, but I don't know.
Where would that put them 5 years later, though? Is my question.
Him or them?
Well, him, because Rhodey was still still communicating with.
Did Ross get snapped?
We don't. I don't
think we know that yet.
I want to say no, mainly because he's had so many interactions since then. Because he had, I guess I don't know if that's confirmed or not.
No, because Black Widow takes place pre-Infinity War.
Right.
And I can't think of any interactions during the actual, I guess it's the blip now.
Yeah, during the blip. I don't know.
Well, I mean, wasn't War Machine was on his side though, right? And he was still working
initially.
But he was also working out of some office when they were talking via their hologram or whatever.
Yeah, at the start of Infinity War, he was working under him. So he's 6 years after the incident. Ross left the military and served as the United States Secretary of State.
Okay.
During this time, Ross approved the Sokovia Accords. Let's see, does it have an affiliation? Okay, so he's United States Army, formerly Biotech Force Enhancement Project. That's the
Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Stuff and the Abomination.
So yeah,
well, I'm just wondering because I feel like
the last thing is he's Department of State
with Zemo. Yeah. Well, where's Zemo going then?
Zemo. Last we saw him, I mean, spoilers for Cap and stuff. He's going off to Wakanda.
No, he was going to the thing in the water, wasn't he?
No, the Wakandans were taking him into
custody. He had been on the raft.
Yeah.
Okay, so
he had not. He was on a different. He was in a different thing. He was in another facility.
He was going to go to the raft, and then Wakanda took him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, all that to say is that I just want to know who's going to physically bring in Spider-Man unless he wants to be taken in. And where we're left off, it doesn't seem like he wouldn't want to be taken in.
I mean, I think he still would want to be on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's just I think we're gonna say he's gonna want to clear his name. He's a high schooler. He's gonna turn himself in.
Okay,
yeah. Especially because he doesn't want to put Mary Jane, his aunt, and Ned in danger. He's like, no, if I try and run, they're gonna be the ones caught in the crossfire, and that's not what Peter's about.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, at some point he gets let out because he's walking through high school.
Yeah, he's walking through high school, and he's kind of, people have an idea that they think that's him. We see him at the Feast facility, which is a nonprofit that his aunt works with, which is kind of cool. They brought that over from the recent comics, part of the Brand New Day era of Spider-Man, so that they brought that integrated in. Also, that can be seen in the Spider-Man games, which is really fun.
What do you mean for all you Sony fans?
Yeah.
For the rest of us, we're just left. What are you talking about? I'm scratching my head.
If you guys are playing video games on the Xbox, you're just left out in the cold.
Thanks, Sony. I do find it interesting that he went to Doctor Strange, from what I can understand, not fully understanding his abilities.
His whose abilities? Peter's abilities or Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange's abilities.
Well, he knows Doctor Strange's magic.
Yeah, he's a wizard.
But he doesn't know to what extent and what he's asking. Basically, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, he's a high schooler. He doesn't. Yeah, he's not. Judgment is not going to be the best right now.
No, but let's put it this way: he has a plan, and his plan, as we're watching, is to basically undo what was done. And if Doctor Strange couldn't undo the blip, what would make Spider-Man think that he could undo what he's asking right now? That's my question. There's some lead up. I'm assuming, obviously, in the story that he figures out that Doctor Strange can do what he's asking.
I think he's just going to ask if it's possible.
Yeah, and also, wait, why? What was that talk of the blip? Can you clarify that?
Well, he's asking Doctor Strange. Again, spoilers for the end of this trailer. He's asking him basically to erase the memory of Spider-Man. Right?
The identity. He's asking him to erase the identity, essentially, that he is Spider-Man. The reveal.
Right. So he's asking Doctor Strange to wipe the world's memory of him being Spider-Man.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with the blip. That's why
that's a much smaller scale thing. The blip is universal. Oh yeah, the blip is universal wide.
No, I'm saying on Earth.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what Doctor Strange's abilities are per se.
Right.
To the extent of what he can do. So
that's why he's asking.
No, he already had the plan.
He didn't go to him and say, hey, you need to do this because I know it's within the scale of your powers. He's like, hey, could you do this? And he's like, of course I can do this. I'm Doctor Strange.
Strange powers.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just, from based on what he's seen Doctor Strange do, I don't know why he'd have been like, oh, Doctor Strange can wipe the world's memory of me, versus he can do the spinny thing and send people in and out of circles.
He saw what he did on Titan. He saw him fight. He saw he saw him turn a planet into butterflies. How does that that's insane. So why would it be out of the realm of possibility that he could do something like that?
He also doesn't have a better option.
Yeah. And also he's not even saying no, I know you can do this. He's like, can you do this? I need help. I don't have answers. I'm coming to you as an adult can you help me out? He's not saying, no, Doctor Strange, I know exactly the limits of the capabilities you have. Also, I have Edith, so I have a certain level of files there that also grant me a certain amount of information, and I need you to do this.
Fair enough. To me, it just seemed like it was an interesting thing based on what we know of what he can do, and the actual direct contact that Spider-Man would know. He could fight in close quarter combat. He can turn a planet in, but as far as wiping the world's memory, it seems like a pretty big ask. But
okay, but what does he have to lose? If he goes there and he says, I can't do that, kid, he's like, okay, thanks for trying.
Yeah. If Doctor Strange can do it, Nick Fury was the next call.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Although, does he? I guess he would know that Nick Fury's still alive because Nick was at the
funeral.
The funeral. So yeah, he would still know
that.
Okay.
And
I wonder if that
Nick Fury was in Far From Home. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Nick Fury kept calling him. or he kept ignoring him.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's also he's at the end of Far From Home is like there's also all that, but
yeah, as you saw in the trailer, I wonder if that wink was significant to like show he could be Mephisto.
Nope, that's how you know it's not Mephisto. Mephisto can't wink.
Is that
it's comic science? Comic science.
The devil can't wink. I feel like it's one thing he would master early on.
Nope. Yeah, Marvel's weird, man.
Yeah, I'll give you everything you want for your soul. Wink.
Did you just blink? No, I winked. No, you used both eyes. That's a blink, not a wink. He's like,
but I turn my face, so you can only see the one eye.
He's like, no, but I see it in the reflection of the mirror behind you. Like it's right. What is wrong? Why can't you
put these mirrors in here?
I told you.
It's me, Mephisto, right? You got
Richards.
When in doubt, blame Richards.
My favorite part of all of this is that it took 15 seconds for the Mephisto talk to come back up. Everybody is, as the kids say, thirsty for Mephisto.
Well, let's be honest though. I mean, again, I am just caught up as of today, and not even fully caught up in obviously all the Spider-Man lore, but he does play a pretty significant role.
No, it makes sense
in the story that they're kind of they're gleaning from.
Okay, but that's the thing though, is he doesn't. Like everyone keeps saying, like, oh, it's just like One More Day. I'm like, it's not. They're pulling from a different story. It's pulling it like essentially the whole. It all started out of two stories, but the thing that they're leaning into is more from the second story.
Yeah.
Like there's no Aunt May who's in danger of dying, so
we know of.
In the truth, that's fair. In the story, though, the way it works out is that a deal is struck with Mephisto to save Aunt May, and part of that deal is Mephisto changes things so that Aunt May lives, but then also alters certain patterns so that then Peter can still go to Doctor Strange and say, hey, can you wipe away people's memories so that this is no longer something I have to be dealing with? And that's the crux of this, at least the trailer. I that's fair. We may get the Aunt May gets shot thing, and we do see like a blown out building where it looks like there was a firefight. So it could happen, but as far as we know, it's only really the one moment in time story, not as much as the Brand New Day.
Well, I mean, I know we can get into it, but and this is, as you were saying, this is the one moment in time was actually when Doctor Strange does the magic / I guess crazy science, when you include Richards in it, that actually accounts for this. So what I'm wondering though is that, with that being said, I do love that they're just flipping off Christopher Nolan in this CGI scene right here. It's like, oh, you never wanted to be in a comic movie the way it is, but we're just going to add you in anyway because
accept this dick.
Yeah, but we did see that in the first Doctor Strange movie.
True,
but Inception still came out before that.
That's true, but I mean, we've already drank from this well, so it's not like it's not a moment where you're like, oh,
Well, I was gonna say, as far as the
we gotta pause, by the way.
Yeah,
it's a pause.
This is
and I pause it at a good hopefully screen. But I was gonna just quickly backtrack to the one moment at a time versus the other story. I mean, it all still comes from the same fountain, which is his identity.
Tony Stark's a piece of shit.
That very much so, but his identity is known. So I mean,
the majority of heroes are known, like in this MCU world. It's out on
Spider-Man isn't known though.
No, I said the majority. That means most, not all.
The reaction he's getting is and I guess it makes sense because I forget this is right after the Mysterio stuff, so it makes sense that he's getting this type of negative reaction, at least a little more, because it's very much like hated and feared X-Men style almost, the reaction he was getting from the trailer anyway.
And that's largely due to the InfoWars version of J. Jonah Jameson that we're getting of like, and then we've seen that again in the video game, which is very good. But like the kind of like, no, the water's making the frogs gay, like that type of J. Jonah Jameson.
I don't
even know if it's that much than it is just the actual footage that was given to him. Like the footage was already manipulated. It wasn't like J. Jonah Jameson went out with a certain slanter. I mean, he doesn't like Spider-Man, but I don't think he's making up stuff. He was given altered footage. And now he's running with it.
I mean,
he wanted that. Like it didn't matter what footage he was going to get. He was going to blame Spider-Man anyway.
But if the footage shows Spider-Man killing somebody, it's pretty easy. Like he doesn't have to say Spider-Man's an asshole. It's like, well, you can all see for yourself. I've been saying it for years. I couldn't prove it, but you can literally see with your own two eyes that he killed this man.
but that's, I mean, then we need to start a podcast about the burden of better reporting on journalists, because there should be a certain amount of like
really good though.
What's up?
The Daily Planet's supposed to be really good, like publication.
It is, yeah. No, I agree. The Daily Planet is great.
Yeah.
The Daily Bugle
Daily
is
Bugle
more
less
questionable.
so.
Daily Bugle. Sorry, yes.
I hear the Daily Bugle. All of
So is it like the New York
photographs
Post?
are staged?
Does Spider-Man work for the New York Post?
No, the Daily Bugle. I don't know. Would be a good comparison.
It's like an amalgamation of the Post and the Times.
Yeah, because it's with Jameson it is not, very definitely he has a certain point of view, and he's going to continue to push that as the editor in chief. He chooses to push a certain narrative, regardless of, even if he gets photos that say otherwise, he'll be like, well, we don't know the whole story, so let's put our, is he a menace? And you can't get me wrong, because this is an editorial section, much like the bullshit of Fox News of saying like, oh, well, this isn't a news program so much as an editorial program now. It's like,
oh, the Daily Bugle's Fox News. Yeah,
I mean, well, especially in more recent iterations, it definitely flows that way. I'd say that, and there's more in the comics. There's more stuff recently where they're adapting and changing things. The Daily Bugle is actually kind of shifting, because they do understand that there is more of a push towards internet carrying the news as opposed to just print media, because it takes how long to print things when you need that clickbait.
I saw all that come down or happen in was it Venom? Wasn't he all about the YouTubes and starting his own blog?
I guess Venom. Do we have to talk? We get
No, I'm not gonna lie.
I kind of have to talk about it.
Yeah.
I still think that they're pulling from both stories. I just don't know. The Aunt May impetus in the comic is going to be relevant in this one, but I think the actual threat still could foster Mephisto type of like.
I could see it going a couple different ways. I don't think when he initially goes to Strange, Aunt May is in danger. I don't think she's actually physically hurt.
Yeah, he doesn't seem distraught when he's talking to him.
I could see if they do wrap this kind of up by the end and put things in order, Aunt May dying, and that's the price he pays to have his identity concealed again.
Ooh,
damn,
I could see that.
May was awesome too.
Yeah,
we're getting to the section 2, and forgive me, Ken, I know this is going to upset you, because I read a compendium of the stories, the short, obviously condensed version.
Yeah.
The all of the bad guys was it was interlaced in the story I was reading, and it was like who was it? It was like Brain and Brawn or whatever, or like trying to steal some kind of time machine off his wrist or whatever. But then Hulk was in there, and Doc Ock showed up, and some other people, and it was just kind of showing all of the stuff that Spider-Man had to go through every day, and kind of it was adding to the story that Mary Jane was explaining, and the two of them were talking about in their apartment, whatever. I wonder if this scene is going to be the scene on the freeway.
It's been a while since I've seen that since I've gone back and read One Moment at a Time, just because there's a catalog of stuff. It's like we talk about it all the time, like, oh, don't you know, read all these stories, and like, I mean, you can't read all these stories. There's just too much. Yeah. And there's also a matter of like, yeah, I read that, and then that was 20 years later happened, and I'm here. So
yeah, it's like, and I just read it. And like I said, it was only to, because we're saying that they're borrowing. They're obviously not just going to do page for page of it, which is going to make it interesting, because in the story, obviously Spider-Man fought all of these guys. So when he's telling the story, or him and Mary Jane are sitting down explaining why she was always in danger and why the relationship started to kind of fray at the edges or whatever, or throughout the whole thing, it was because of these incidences and things like that. But this Spider-Man's never fought any of these people. So them showing up is going to be interesting for how they decide to do this.
Yeah.
And the fact that Doc Ock refers to Mr. Parker means like he recognizes him.
Technically, he says Peter, but yes, go on.
I mean, he's still true, very true.
Yeah, and why?
Sorry, needless pedant. Continue. No.
I mean, it's very it's important that he says Peter, because he may only recognize Peter as as the kid. He's never fought Spider-Man before, and maybe for whatever reason he's back to fight Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Where is he being plucked from in the time stream of Spider-Man 2, or is it even from Spider-Man 2?
So there was some discussion I think there was actually something Alfred Molina said in an interview. Essentially, he was to his understanding, he's being plucked from the moment he's sinking into the water at the end of Spider-Man 2. So he's actually being plucked from that time. So he's still alive from that moment.
So he's
gonna be very upset.
No, he's not going to be a bad guy.
Well, yeah. So it's like,
why wouldn't he?
At the end of Spider-Man 2,
himself.
He's like, oh no, I must save the world.
Yeah.
And so there, if you have that idea, one, he might not necessarily be against him. Also, we don't know, like it shows from that cut to you see Peter mobilizing in the armored suit, the Iron Spider one, but we don't know if that's a direct cut. Like he could just see a Spider-Man and be like, "Hi, Peter," and he's thinking like, "Oh, that's Peter in there. I know that." Whereas it could be because there's also rumors of if we're going to get the other Spider-Man.
I would hope so, because we're definitely getting a Goblin, and Goblin only knows a certain spider. Like, I mean, unless he's just backed out of wreak havoc for no apparent reason. If he's back for any type of vengeance, he only knows a specific Spider-Man in that instance. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. They could throw curveballs. That could not be Green Goblin. It could be Hobgoblin for all we know.
It could be the Green Goblin from Amazing Spider-Man.
It could be the Green Goblin. Yeah, it could be the Green Goblin from Spider-Man 3. It could be Harry.
I mean, either way, it's not this Spider-Man that he knows.
James Franco needs that check.
None of them would. I mean,
I don't think anybody's casting James Franco in light of recent news.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that maybe they have to.
I mean, we might get William Dafoe.
I don't know. Yeah,
we'd be better off with William Dafoe than we would with what's his name?
James Franco.
But I mean, there's also I mean, I don't know if I can pull up the frame itself specifically, but there's also talk of, what was it, Sandman and Electro, I think, was it?
Yeah, because you see, obviously, yeah, I think it's already been almost confirmed essentially that Jamie Foxx is there. There is some shots you see with sand or dirt blasting up, so there's talk of it being Sandman. On a side note, just to jump back, what if we got Dave Franco instead of James?
Ooh, that would be cool. I would be. Yeah, I'm totally in on that.
100%.
Yeah, I'd be really on board for that because I love him.
Who is the bad guy in the original Amazing Spider-Man? I'm blanking entirely.
Lizard.
There's also.
Oh, okay.
There's also some talk that someone said like, oh, you can see him trying to get out. Like there's a shot of the Lizard in that trailer as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's like this moment where he kind of Peter or Spider-Man turns around and you see a figure like try and hits up against a clear surface behind him as if they're trying to get out of something, and it looks as if that would be the Lizard.
Do you are we not convinced that we're not going to have two Venoms, Tobey Maguire and Tom Hardy?
I would
not Tobey Maguire, the Topher Grace. Sorry,
Topher Grace,
the other Tobey Maguire,
nerdy Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. Wow,
yeah. That's the better Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. And are we also not convinced that Topher Grace will be actually Mephisto?
Are you just going to say everyone's Mephisto? So you're right at some point.
Thinking about it,
I feel like Aunt May might be Mephisto at this point.
If I play the numbers, he's like, hey,
someo's got to be.
If you bet on every number on the roulette wheel,
if everyone's Mephisto, it is Mephisto.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can see them bringing back pretty much every villain we've had thus far, because here's the thing at the root of it too. Like, this is still technically a Sony film, and they've had a hard on to get to Sinister Six since Spider-Man 1. They've constantly pushed the envelope and trying to do things as fast as possible. The Justice League, the DC, of like, well, let's just go straight to to this one. That's the best thing. Let's just make all the money. It's like, or you could take your time and develop it. No, fuck that. No, we need to be.
Who said that? Who said that? Was that kid in the back?
Avi Allred. That was who said that.
He's fired.
Yeah, I wish.
Take our time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Is this house going to pay for itself?
I don't think so.
That was going to work? These gold toilets, they magically pay for themselves? No.
They don't clean themselves, boy.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder, like, also because, again, going back to the story that they're leaning from, it isn't necessarily, there is no time travel. There's no multiple universes going on. There's just the magic of it. Or if you're using the first version, the Mephisto of it.
It says it's in the multiverse, basically, that they broke the multiverse.
Yeah,
the Loki thing, right?
No, I mean in this thing,
in the trailer.
Yeah, they do say like, oh, you're tampering with the multiverse. You don't know what could happen. And there's talk that, essentially because in the context of what happened in Loki, they do say that time is a flat circle, so it's always active at the same time. So this could happen at the same time as the end of Loki and at the end of WandaVision. So it's all
WandaVision, the end of
on and
WandaVision is months before. It's at least 6 months before. Because Far From Home takes place 6 months after the blip.
But the after credits scene.
We're
in the woods. That's the part.
You're right.
Well, I'm wondering if this movie takes place before that after cut scene. Because he goes to her for help. It looks like.
Who goes to her
Strange.
for help? Why does it look like that?
Yeah.
Isn't he who shows up at her door at the very end?
It's there's no figure, there's no name, there's no person. Yeah.
But there's a voice though, right?
But
there's a voice of her children.
Yeah.
She hears her kids.
Okay, you're right.
That's what she's flipping.
Well, I also love too that like of the two things that could have broken the multiverse, it's going to be just Doctor Strange by himself.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like everyone that I know that have been saying like, oh, wait till that comes up, and then they're gonna like, Doctor Strange is gonna chastise Loki and Wanda for messing with the multiverse, and I'm like, what? Because in reality, that's the Doctor Strange we've had, is the one who's like, oh no, I know better than all. Even though I'm somewhat new at this, I still know better than all. You guys should listen to me. I know the best. And then he does this shit.
Isn't that what Doctor Strange does anyway, though?
It's, yeah. Well, I mean, that's to a degree at this point, yeah. And that's why it's definitely puzzling that he's like, haha, Wong, go suck an egg. I'm going to mess with shit.
I mean, this is the same Doctor Strange that was going 90 miles per hour in his fancy sports car while texting, and it's what led to him becoming Doctor Strange in the first place.
That's true.
He has had reckless behavior. It's the same Doctor Strange that was told, don't you dare use the time stone. Immediately started using the time stone. So, he can be reckless. I think because our last impression of him is Infinity War and Endgame, he seemed a little more like the adult in the room.
Well, he also had time to mature though, didn't he? By the time that he used the time stone to Endgame, like there's been a few years?
Yeah, but that's our point, is that by now we should not be seeing the same reckless Doctor Strange. We should see the one who's sat and watched 14 million different realities to see how to best serve the world and stop Thanos. And he's, by watching those timelines, that's a certain amount of experience that he has to intake. So it's like a certain level of maturity might come from that. And instead he's like, haha, I got you, kid.
Or maybe he's like, you know what? None of this matters anyway. Fuck it.
I was going to say, I mean, if there's anybody keeping in continuity at all with Doctor Strange, they could just say that he already saw this happening anyway, and that the ultimate end of this isn't so bad for Spider-Man, but he needs to go through this. Which is why he's like, okay, let's do it. I knew you were going to come here. I already saw this.
That seems like a cop-out.
I
would also say 14 million realities. How is that a cop-out?
Because the only one that survived, that he said that worked, was the one where Tony died.
Yeah, and so he would have seen this though.
But at that point where Tony dies, he no longer has the time stone, so he wouldn't be able to see a moment past that point. Because past that point, the time stone is then destroyed. I would imagine that would hinder his ability to see past that point.
What do you mean the time stone is destroyed?
So at that point in the history in the world, the time stone is destroyed on the moon, wherever that Thanos goes to and starts a farm. That time stone is destroyed. Later on, they pull the time stone from the past to the future. They use it to snap twice to bring back everybody, then to dust all of the time displaced Thanos people, and then they take that same time stone and go back in time and replace him back into the timeline, hypothetically.
But that's the one he would have seen, though, not the one where Thanos is on the moon. That's the one where they lose.
Yeah. I don't know if his Sorry, Ken, go ahead.
No, I guess he could have kept watching that one. Like, he's like, oh, this is the one timeline where we win. Let me just keep watching because I want to see how the rest of the season plays out. I don't like. Sure, I guess once he says, oh, that's how we survive. So he keeps watching the next 50 years.
He's just really trying to figure out if he ends up hooking up with Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, I mean, and he's like, oh no, she has kids. Ugh.
Out.
Next timeline.
This is the only one there were actually half of them they won, but he just didn't like who he ended up dating after. He's like, nah. No, I think this is a win for me. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested to see how they do this multiverse when, again, the original story didn't really call for it.
I mean, in some ways, there's a lot of Doctor Strange looks a lot like Tony Stark in this trailer, and that the recklessness, the cocksuredness, and the mentorship of Spider-Man in some ways, at least the setup that they're doing. It's like, oh, well, we needed that guy that screws everything up, but who we root for.
Yeah,
well, we got him.
Well, yeah, Pat and I were talking off mic earlier about how much Tony just screws up so much. And I was positing the question that maybe he was trying to commit suicide in all those movies just so he didn't have to deal with all the screws he's done.
Just so he doesn't have to deal with the repercussions. He's like, basically, repercussions. If I'm dead, I don't have to deal with them.
Yeah.
Finally got it. Finally got his wish.
Yeah, basically. He went out a hero. I feel like he's been trying to do it since the first Avengers movie.
That's why he had the backup plan for Edith. Even dead, I'm the hero. That's all he wanted, was to be known as the good guy and leave that legacy.
I mean, mission accomplished. He's doing a much better job than Captain America right now, whose name is getting a little bit tarnished.
What are you talking about? He's getting it in.
Captain America?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about old Captain America.
Gotcha.
I am talking about
so
old
just
Captain
saying,
America.
He's like, well, I can't tarnish legacy. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Mr. I forget about other. I ignore other black Captain Americas.
Wait, Steve Rogers?
Well, Steve Rogers didn't know about him.
I find that hard to believe.
This is Kareem saying, like, I deny that, and I push my own narrative regardless of what others might say. He's like, no, he knew about him. I saw him slap him one time.
I just find it hard for him to not know about him having been part of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean,
even from the first Avengers, we saw that they were keeping things from him. Yeah, they kept stuff from him constantly. And like later on, he did find out what he could. Like he ended up finding out about Bucky and whatnot. But there's definitely times where it's like they have different levels of shields. Like, oh no, we don't need to let him know about the fact that we're ready to drop a nuke on New York just in case. And
it's all complicated by the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. was secretly Hydra for a lot of that time too. So a lot of that stuff, I can see him not knowing. And then the person that did know, Bucky, said, well, I'm not going to tell Steve, because what Steve's going to do is he's going to try and make it right. And that doesn't work in this scenario. There is no making it right.
Yeah. It wouldn't be Steve's place. Yeah. I mean, it was one could even say it was not necessarily even all of Sam Wilson's place. And he still went ahead and said, no, I want your story to be told. And why couldn't Cap do that? Because it's a question of like, do I have the right to out you? Do I have the right to tell your story? And Sam decided to make that choice. And
I'm not saying that he has to out him, but he could at least speak with him.
He didn't know he existed. And you just keep saying like, yeah, he did.
No, Bucky knew. And
but Bucky didn't tell Steve.
But he told Sam. Why didn't he tell Steve? The outcome would have been the same.
No, he didn't tell Steve because he's like, no, I know what you're going to try and make it right regardless of what anybody wants. So yeah, you want to blame Bucky, go right ahead. Bucky is willing to take that blame, and he's already blamed himself enough.
First off, we don't know that he's going to try and make it right because he didn't make it right with Iron Man when he knew about Iron Man's parents. We're just assuming he would have.
That is, I would say, not apples to apples.
How do you not make it?
Because he was protecting Bucky. This wouldn't be Isaiah Bradley. That doesn't protect Bucky in any way, shape, or form.
No, I'm saying making it right. There was no attempt at all. He just held a secret. The secret murder of his friend's parents.
I mean, was he his friend? I mean,
ouch! You guys are cold-blooded.
Cap said it himself. He's like, he's my friend. He's like, so was I. He's like, I didn't say you were my friend. Was I though? Like you're kind of a fascist. I don't like you, Tony.
And you've been a dick a lot. I believe you said everything special about me comes out of a bottle.
Yeah,
well, that is true though.
See, I don't agree with that because I've seen in alternate timelines where it's like even without the super soldier serum, he's still a hero. He's the Hydra.
Yeah, with Iron Man's suit. Get out of here.
Yeah.
He's not a hero without help.
That you know what? That's true of pretty much everyone, Kareem. Okay?
Yeah, who's a hero without help?
All of our firefighters, they receive training. You know what? So they still receive help too. Yes, I went with firefighters.
Our firefighters don't get special suits.
They actually do.
They do get special suits. They really
don't.
do. Yeah, they do.
That's why their eyes don't boil.
Yeah.
I'm talking about suits that give them additional abilities. Those suits
gives
weigh
them
them
the
down.
ability to go into fire.
They can literally walk through fire. That's literally what they do.
That is a special ability.
I don't equate them to an Iron Man suit.
I mean, I saw Iron Man 3 and he didn't necessarily have a suit that would allow him to walk through fire, yet he still took down a bunch of the Mandarin's men. So really,
was he ever presented with fire?
I think he had a flamethrower on that one because he had a taser hand and a couple other powers that he made out of stuff from
bottom line
Ace Hardware.
Iron Man held the secret of two murdered people, of a coworker, even if he wasn't a friend, a coworker, which means that he's not willing to do everything to make anything right. He has his limits.
Yeah, and his limit is Bucky. Yeah,
he's a human, okay?
That's my point, though. We don't know what he would have done if Bucky gave him the news.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That
you're assuming that he would have done something right. And I'm saying we know that he has limits.
You're blaming Steve for something he didn't know about.
I'm not blaming Steve at all.
Blame Bucky. At least blame Bucky. That's at least your argument would be more founded there. You'd be like, oh, that son of a bitch, Bucky. I can't believe he didn't tell his best friend the truth.
I'm blaming Steve for holding back the secret of murdered parents. You are assuming that he would do everything that he could to make something right. I'm saying we don't know that. We do know his limits, though.
But what is because also that's his weak spot. His weak spot are his actual friends, not whatever Iron Man was.
Yeah.
Right. So my point is if Bucky's telling him, hey, I know this guy, but don't do anything about it. Why wouldn't he just stop at that?
Or, maybe he's such a good friend to Tony. He knew that no good would come from telling him that. It's not going to help him in any way.
That's not a good friend.
No. You know what? There's plenty of things I don't tell my best friends because they don't want to know the real world. And they know they've got blinders on.
Murdering their parents?
Listen here, Frank Castle. There's things we don't tell you at our superhero meetings just to save everyone the trouble.
You sound just like the Illuminati. And those guys it's full of dicks.
That went really well. I don't see what the problem is.
That worked out pretty well for us.
It didn't.
Yeah, time ran out. Yeah,
not for the planet when he came back.
hey, man! Without the Illuminati, we never. How do we get past Secret Wars? We never have bad decisions. How do we get past Secret Wars?
There you go.
Did the Illuminati really help with that? I felt like they were added at that point.
They came up with the raft that allowed them to.
Was it the Illuminati that came up with it? Just those smart guys? I don't think it had anything to do with keeping secrets.
They are the Illuminati. They didn't have to do it they didn't have their secret decoder rings out at the time, but they were still them.
I felt like they could have just met
and because of the unstable molecules, they did have suits that allowed them to walk through fire. So really, they are superheroes.
It's true.
Well, we knew they were superheroes. They were superheroes before the fire.
Also, if I'm really thinking about it, I think it might have been Valeria Richards that actually came up with the raft.
Oh, look at that.
So it's a good thing Reed and Sue had sex and Doom was there to save the baby.
Well, Doom's a real hero here then.
I mean, Doom would say that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't be wrong.
From a certain point of view. I'm going to say what I can and make myself God Emperor of it. Done and done. I'm a hero.
If you write history, you are.
Well, he had that opportunity.
I mean, I was telling Ken though, I'm a little hesitant because again, before I had read this comic, it just seemed like we're throwing a lot of elements into this third movie, and I've seen what happens when you throw a lot of elements into a third movie.
It does feel a little Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, Sony does have a track record of fucking up their Spider-Man trilogies. They have
or they don't even get to them.
Yeah, exactly. They fuck it up so hard on the second one, they biff the landing, and when they're at the end of it, when they're like, "Look at all the things we have: these Spider-Man legs, these Craven legs, all these different things."
Legs. We've got his boa.
Yeah. I was gonna say, at least get his clothes. No, last time we talked about it, you just wanted his legs.
Last time we talked, it was just his legs that were there. But
not his hands.
Not his hands. not
his brain,
furry lion cloth, just
it's
his
weird
legs.
they're just sticking out of the grave too.
I mean, because again, I don't even know why you need to bring in these extra villains when you can make, his already arrested villains or society the villain in this one.
I think, Ken, you're hitting the nail on the head, is that this movie serves two masters. It has to further the Sony desire to have the Sinister Six exist and be a threat so they can do Spider-Man 14. This time he's going to fight the Sinister Six for real this time. Don't even worry about it. We finally got there. You're excited, right? It also has to serve the overall MCU narrative, which is we now have a multiverse. We need to use that to tweak stuff so that we can tell a whole bunch of different stories in different ways and have them come together at some point.
I just want to know why they had to do it in this movie.
Because it connects, because it's the connecting point. Basically,
yeah. It's
Sony
also like,
sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's what he's going to get to is also we have certain contractual obligations with Sony and with Tom Holland to put out certain movies in a certain time frame. So this one was due to come out now, and then that's why we're gonna have Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness on the horizon, and thereafter it's all kind of like everything's kind of set in their plan. Like they have the planner diagram and they're gonna get to that point. So this is where they decided that we're gonna do this, and then also Sony's having their own points of view, which I'm curious if we're gonna see, if we would see Venom. Like that's the type of thing where it's like, oh, well, we want to get Venom in there too, and maybe Morbius. Do we have any Morbius opportunities? Because one thing that they showed us all these, or they've hinted to all these villains that we've seen, except for the Marvel ones. Like we didn't see. I mean, we saw Vulture, exactly. We didn't see Vulture, and Mysterio was obviously like alluded to, but he's dead. But the team that held him up are still there because they're the ones who leaked that video, the altered video. So it's like, are they there, or is parts of this? And also, we don't even know if they play a role in this. So, yeah, it's just that it's all part of the planogram.
It's just a big dick move. It's just the same plot. Like no multiverse, psych, motherfucker.
Yep. And he's just like, I didn't die, bitches.
Gotcha. Mysterio rides again.
And the other thing, I was, again, having read the story as of today, about 4.5 hours ago, I felt like the weight of the Mary Jane story is going to fall short.
Yeah.
Oh, not by the actor's fault.
No.
Mostly by the writers not being able to having taken this long to establish it.
The problem to me is that in one moment in time, they're mid-20s, right? I want to say mid-20s around that time.
I think
I'd say
late
one
20s,
moment
right?
side 30s, maybe even 30s, because they're
married. Yeah. That's right.
Married, they've been, So
the problem is that older Spider-Man cartoons or comics drew them so old looking.
Depending on the writer, yeah.
Yeah, one of the ones that in the story in the One Moment in Time, they were talking about the first time that Mary Jane had seen him, and he was like walking to school, and he was like in a full-on business suit, and he looked 35, and I was like, he doesn't look 14.
Just like all teenagers in comics.
Fair enough.
No, it is because they had been married. I think by then they'd already lost the marriage. I don't think. Well, from what I read, they didn't get married. No, but they had been. And this ties back into
one more day. I think they were married.
Yeah.
One moment in time, he stands her up.
So one moment in time, by the time we get to one moment in time, they actually were never married.
Yeah,
it had already been.
They were going to get married.
Mephisto. Yeah, and so, but that's what he's building to, is that like in the comics we've had so many years of stories of them being together and that life that they've built, whereas in the movies for MJ, because she's not Mary Jane, she's MJ.
Yeah,
we had her sprinkled like kind of throughout Homecoming, because he was also kind of like more infatuated with Liz at the time, and then in the second one he's definitely that's his main love interest. But like, so 1.5 movies we've kind of gotten to know her, where it's like, at least with Kirsten Dunst, we had 3 solid movies of just like, that's who I want to be with, and that's who I and they had a relationship, and we built.
Kiss me.
Kiss you.
I need to know something. Just one kiss.
on that, and this just kind of seems like, oh, and we're gonna tear them apart. Like, oh, I mean, he just barely came out to her.
That's what I was gonna say. Even in the what's his name, the Emma Stone and what's his name in the first movie,
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, they established how long they've been together in just the first movie. Like you can, and again, I mean, obviously they were dating at the time, so their chemistry was solid. Like you believe that they've been a couple for more than like 6 months or 7 months or whatever. And that, whatever feelings he has for her are super steeped in like, the relationship. This one, I'm like, yeah, he really is infatuated, really likes her. But I mean, he doesn't really know her to the point of like, let me go back and erase everything.
But he's also once again, he is a teenager.
Well, he's a teenager in all of them though. I don't think that's an excuse.
He is not a teenager by Spider-Man 3.
But he is when he meets Mary Jane and falls. I mean, like they develop that relationship.
Yeah, but you see that relationship grow. Like teenagers are known, they're not known for rational behavior. It's impulsive.
By the end of Spider-Man 1, though, you would believe that he would take a bullet for her, or he would, do whatever he could to save her, as much as he was in love with her.
Yeah.
And they grew up next door to each other. Like regardless of the relationship, they like knew each other as kids. So you're like, yeah, he would go to Doctor Strange and be like, let me erase all this to save her from whatever heartache. Like, as far as we know, MJ's only had, a day and a half of heartache, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and part of that too is that he does say, well, what about my aunt? Wait, what about Ned? Like he does think of the people in his life who are like, it. So, I mean, that's kind of to add an additional weight on there emotionally is he does bring them up, but there is like the original story does have all that weight because he has all that history. Whereas this is just like, even his aunt, he does have a fair point there. It's like, his aunt's not going to know anymore. And then also like, what about Happy Hogan? It's like, he's seen in the trailer too. It's like, there's a whole nother story there. Like, wait, he's still like a lot of his tech he can get from Stark Industries and Pepper, because Pepper knows of Peter and understands that relationship. So there's like, when we ask like, well, who's arresting him? It's like, he probably wouldn't want to tarnish the relationship he has with them. So it's like the like there are connections that he has to people. He's like, wait, if I erase everyone's memory of who Spider-Man is, also like my brain would have been like, wait, you're saying everyone, that includes Doctor Strange, who like at the snap of his fingers, like, who are you, kid? Like,
well, that's what he says. That's what he says in the story in the comic. He's like, as soon as I do this, you better leave because I'm going to wonder why the hell you're here.
Yeah, and it's just like they don't even broach that, which maybe also we do see what appears to possibly be a fight between Doctor Strange and Spider-Man in the trailer, where he's like, oh, well, I'll just go ahead and make these bunch of trains around you. Haha, train attack.
Well, that's funny though, because in the story, he does he thinks he can figure out magic himself in the one moment in time, not the one was it one day or whatever.
There's one more day.
One more day. One more day he goes and asks, and then Doctor Strange just for whatever reason he's like, I'm going to trust that you're not going to touch anything. I got to go answer a phone call. And he's like, I could figure out magic. I'm smart. So I'm wondering if they fight when he pulled out the string part, if that's where something goes down.
There's no chance Doctor Strange is a Skrull, right? Skrulls wouldn't be able to have that kind of control over magic. So far in what we've seen in the MCU, I'd say no. Okay. But that's just what we've seen in the MCU because we haven't seen that much of Skrulls. Yeah. I just know that
but they've been on the Earth since the 90s. So to the level to which they could impersonate people is certainly possible. But then also you do wonder like, how would they'd have to fool Wong, and Wong's pretty smart. And so
unless he's a Skrull too.
Unless he's a Skrull too, which he's off.
You're really trying to get to the Secret Wars, aren't you?
Well, I mean,
this is
Secret Invasion. Yeah,
we're on the way to Secret Invasion, supposedly. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's less likely, but I also question. Like, I do think that Doctor Strange is acting out of character, but we'll see how that lands.
How that plays. Maybe more like Agatha.
It was Agatha all along.
If they bring back the song, I don't even care if it makes sense. 100% in.
So many people just like, what? And it's like, it's Disney Plus. You're an idiot. You should watch this.
Yeah. Well, the whole, well, you don't have to watch the shows for the movie. Like, you guys are going to have to get off of that shtick if you want the shows to be important.
To matter, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they've gone I mean, yeah, I think they've quietly moved towards that with Loki anyway. I think from this point on, like you're gonna have to watch the shows regardless. I think part of their thing is that they were one testing out WandaVision. Two, Captain America really doesn't. I mean, you could have. I mean, I loved it, but you could have skipped it really, as far as the MCU is concerned, because where we left off was Cap giving him the shield regard, like either way.
Mm-hmm.
So if we see him show up as Captain America in the next movie, it's like, okay, that's where we thought it would have ended. The fact that we had to take 8 episodes or whatever to get him to that point, like that's not really important. But this
other asshole dressed as Captain America.
Yeah.
I mean, you could that. I mean, to a certain degree, you could always have that argument for any of them. You could have said like, "Oh, just don't watch Ant-Man," and then he'll show up in something. You're like, "Okay."
Well, no.
He gets real big and small. All right, fine.
I meant the show wise, like as far as the MCU is concerned, like the Loki thing is you can't really skip Loki and then understand what's gonna be happening going forward.
Why not? I mean, that's the thing is we don't know what that next step is. I mean, we know we have a season 2 of Loki, and we know supposedly he'll show up.
When King starts showing up in movies, you're gonna be like, "Who the fuck is this dude?"
Well, that's the thing though. It's like I mean, we're going back for spoilers for other stuff, but that wasn't necessarily Kang. That was He Who Remains.
But we know there's a Kang.
Well, we know that there could be a Kang. There's also like he wasn't named by name. We do as an outside observer from.
Well, let's put it this way: we know there's a bad version of him somewhere.
Yeah.
So when the bad version starts showing up, people are going to know what that reference is.
People will know, but not everyone will know, and they'll tell the story well enough that they're like, "Oh, this is
the idea of a multiverse is also really cemented in that." Because as far as we leave the MCU, it's stone based, and it was returned to where it should have been.
Yeah, that's already faulty. It was already faulty bullshit, anyways.
Fair enough. Yeah, but I mean, it was at least as far as again, if you were to pick up a movie after the MCU, Falcon becoming Captain America is where it was left off. The single timeline was where it was left off. But if you start a movie and you're like, oh, there's multiple timelines, and Captain America or Falcon's still Captain America, it's like, well, I want to know about the multiple timelines. I knew he was going to be Captain. Well, that's
why we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Exactly.
Before we have Ant-Man the Wasp and Quantumania.
But we've already established that there's multiverses before we even get to Doctor Strange. Is my point.
No, but that's okay. But that's you're saying. But what about when we get to Kang? And before we get to Kang, we get to Multiverse of Madness. So
we don't know that.
Yes, we do.
We no. It could be at the end of Homecoming right now.
Kang, technically,
not
Kang.
But
the only movie Kang is announced for is Quantumania, which I believe comes out after Multiverse of Madness, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So they're just starting filming, if they're even that.
Yeah, and so by the timeline, if your statement is you have to watch the shows, that's not necessarily true, because with Spider-Man and then hypothetically Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, you will have been introduced to the idea of multiverses. So you don't need to have watched Loki and WandaVision. I think you should, but you don't have to, because those will also be introduced within the cinematic era or the cinematic space, so that you have that primer.
And the evil or Kang or whatever, how is he going to be introduced?
Well, keep in mind, he can be introduced as a new character because he is a new character. It's not He Who Remains.
He's not a new character. He's already been established.
No, a version of him was established.
Well, his history has been established.
To a degree, and it's in a TV show, so if people haven't watched it, just like any comic is someone's first comic, a movie will be written so that it can be your first movie. So that if this is your first time stepping in a theater and you're just like, oh, what's this Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania? Let me watch this. They will give you enough information and background. So okay, so his name's Kang. Okay, I got that. And where's Kodos? I don't understand what's going on. Like, no, this is just Kang. Like, you're fine. You can go forward with just that.
But isn't that true of any movie though? I mean, like Infinity War builds on an Endgame. Like, you didn't necessarily have to watch all of Endgame in order to understand.
No, the Infinity War doesn't build on Endgame at all. It's
Endgame.
Flip it.
Endgame builds on Infinity War. Yeah.
There you go, champ.
Yeah. I mean, that's true, but I mean, that's because we've built it after 10 movies. But if you chose to walk into Endgame just on you know what? Let's finally give this MCU thing a try. I don't know. They've made it 10 years. Let's give it a try. You certainly could have, and
that's a weird spot.
Yeah,
to jump
that's an
in.
odd choice for you, but that's on you. Like I don't know if that one specifically you can go in too cold with, and that they fill you in enough information.
They actually do.
No, but you could have gone into Infinity War cold.
I think so
you
too.
You can go into both for cold, right? Like,
I don't know why you
in-game
so
backtracks.
I don't know why would you
hour.
talk to these insane people. So
I'm just
I'd
saying,
like to know
if your
who's
argument
like,
though is that every movie gives you an introduction, then yes, you are absolutely correct that no one needs to watch the shows. But I would also, and that's true for sequels. I mean, you don't have to watch any movie if every movie is going to give you an introduction based on what was prior to it.
I don't know what the argument is here anymore. Then, because
I don't know what we're.
I was saying
confused.
I was saying that Disney is going to probably lean heavy onto you should watch the shows because now they affect the MCU.
Disney has,
but I was saying that WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they were soft on because those really, I guess, didn't really affect the MCU outside of what we already knew.
They tie into their own universes. They don't tie into the greater, like they tie into their own stories where Loki can tie into kind of everything.
Well, I'm saying Loki ties into the grander one when Captain Falcon was already part of the story as was.
I love that Capcom game.
So good. Falcon kick. Falcon punch. So you did that to yourself. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys could have just corrected me and moved on, but whatever.
Or you could splice
or you continue to be
Captain
pedantic.
Falcon moves.
Yep.
Going on to the next topic.
I mean, I think the real question is Spider-Man Mephisto? Probably yes. And it's probably the Andrew Garfield one because you would expect it to be the Tobey Maguire one.
Why would you expect it to be the Tobey Maguire one? Andrew Garfield was a dick.
And by the way, I do expect some Unsolved Mysteries sound effects in here. One thing he didn't know was that he was Mephisto.
Did Andrew Garfield say he wasn't in the movie though?
I mean, Andrew Garfield. I mean, a lot of them are saying stuff. Yeah,
Jamie Foxx was like, "I'm going to be in it." Before they even
Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina are bigger stars than Andrew Garfield. They can do whatever they want.
No, I'm saying they were saying when they were making a third movie.
Let's not argue about who's bigger
be
stars. That doesn't help anyone.
Fair enough.
But I think we all agree that that's a true statement, though, Pat.
I think that some of them too might also be like, no, I'm going to say no as per the NDA that I signed. Whereas Alfred Molina is like, how old am I? What are you gonna do? Come on, come get me.
Well, that's
and also he's in the trailer. So
well, I mean, now he's in the trailer because they're like, well, shit, he already said stuff. But put him out there, it's fine.
Well, again, do you even need multiple Spider-Man though?
Do you need them? No. Does Sony want you to buy more toys and pay them for the DLC for the Spider-Man game?
Could you just give him new suits? He has like 3 different suits in this trailer.
Did Sony realize Into the Spider-Verse was the best reviewed Spider-Man movie they've ever made? So they're just going to like ramrod that into the live action? 100%.
I'm also wondering what danger Spider-Man is like worried about for Aunt May and like his friends and things like that. Because his biggest threat he basically killed. And it's not like there are other. It isn't like
whoa. He didn't kill anyone, Mr. InfoWars.
I'm going based on what my eyes are telling me. I'm going to trust my own eyes.
Yeah, is that why you don't wear a mask in public and where you decide that not to listen to the CDC?
Yes, that's exactly it. Trusting my eyes, I ain't see shit.
I can't see Cronus. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying like, or let's put it this way: he knows that his greatest threat is eliminated. However, it happened, allegedly. But
I mean,
what makes him?
There's always a new greatest threat, though.
Yeah, I mean, if he's lived in a world, his
only other threat isn't. I mean, yeah, if Vulture comes back, which even then, I don't think they ended on a bad note, though.
Vulture already knows that he is who his family is, but
he wasn't threatening him.
Yes, he did. He turned around the back of the car and was like, "Hey, kid, I will kill you and everyone you love.
Okay, that was before they fought.
He still did, and he's still.
No, but I'm saying at the end of the fight when they left off, they were. I wouldn't say they were friendly, but they were at least cordial. Like it wasn't like when I get out of prison, I'm gonna fucking kill you. It was like, all right, you bested me. This shit sucks.
I didn't know the Vulture was so honorable. I mean, yes, Michael Keaton, but I don't know about that. But we've already the point being is that he's lived in a world where, as a kid, he's watched Iron Man fight the guy on the racetrack. He's heard about the public news of every other villain that we've publicly heard about in the world. He knows about the Flag Smashers. All the stuff that's happened in the world.
He lived through.
Yeah, but the Flag Smashers
MCU
didn't come
9/11 in Avengers.
Yeah, right. But he knows there's additional threats. That's my point.
Yeah.
He knows that there's additional threats,
but not additional threats to Spider-Man.
Additional threats to anyone who decides to stand up and put themselves out there.
No, but okay, is all right. And I apologize if I'm not making this clear. My argument is, as Spider-Man, like, you know, what we're basing this comic on is that he has multiple villains who target just him specifically, and know that if they could have any leverage against him, they would use it. I don't think he has any of those villains in this version of Spider-Man. He's fought world-ending stuff. Like, I don't think Thanos knowing him as Peter Parker matters as much as him just trying to destroy the universe.
I mean, not gonna lie, would be awesome. Thanos shows up at his door and like, oh, finally I can get back at that Spider-Man. I think the threat is going to be the public. As you could see in the trailer, there's basically public sentiment is turned against him. And I think if we've learned anything over the last few years is that that can go to an extreme real quick. So I think that is the threat.
Okay, you're probably right. I wanted to know what maybe they'll show us. Obviously, this is the first trailer, and I think we have probably 2 more before we get to a full explanation of everything.
I believe so.
Yeah, because this is just a teaser.
He seems so fearful of Aunt May and everybody, and people coming after them, knowing him, when he doesn't have that rose gallery of villains who would be those threats normally.
Right, but I mean, sorry.
And even historically, we didn't have Civil War, which would have made more sense. People coming after, no one comes after Steve Rogers. Captain America chooses to take his mask off. But as far as he knows, there's nobody saying I'm going to come after you because I know who you are.
The Mandarin literally said, we're coming after Iron Man. And then Tony's like, come after me. And they blew up his house on the East Coast. So that happened in his world. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
it's not just that
Iron Man also revealed himself at the end of the first movie. It took 2 more movies before the Mandarin, or 1 more movie, 1.5 movies before the Mandarin made that threat. This wasn't like Peter Parker was like, oh shit, because he took his mask off, that's why it's doing it. Everybody knows who he is. They're not coming after Tony Stark and Iron Man are one and the same. It isn't like I'm coming after you because I know who you are. It's I know who you are, so I'm going to come after you.
Right, but that's what we're saying is now that that's been revealed, he's like Tony put himself out there,
but nobody's coming after Iron Man. Let's put it that way. They're coming after Tony.
But you just said they're one and the same. You just said that they're one and the same in the Marvel universe.
But that's I'm saying.
So now in his head, Spider-Man and Peter Parker are one and the same. So the same equivalency, and especially because he sees Tony as a father figure, he's like, what happened to him? He came out. People came for him. I'm being outed, which again, there's also
I'm asking who's coming after Peter? I mean, who's coming after Spider-Man? Spider-Man alone.
I think this is going. Sorry.
No,
good.
You good?
No, I think this is going to simply be explained. We're definitely going to get a scene where Aunt May, Ned, and MJ are in danger. And it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be from a supervillain so much as it's going to be the angry mob. I think that's how they tie that up.
And again, you're probably, and I'm just belaboring the point, I suppose, at this juncture, is that it would have to be significant enough for him to go to Doctor Strange. Spider-Man, from at least from the comics, he can't be everywhere at once, and he has a ton of villains that are just out and about. So the idea of them all being in danger, and it took Aunt May getting shot and basically dying for him to be like, hey, Doctor Strange, could you help me out? Before that, he just tried to protect her all on his own. Even when he had already outed himself and was on the side with Tony, he never went to Doctor Strange saying, make everybody forget about me. It took her dying. So I'm saying, what is it going to take in this storyline when he doesn't have villains that are ready to kill Aunt May for him, like to get to him.
Well, so you can't draw a direct line because when he outed himself in the comics, he was living in Stark Tower, so he had that protection.
Yeah, but Aunt May wasn't.
Yeah, she was.
She was in Stark Tower?
Yeah, she was in Stark Tower too, along with Mary Jane.
All right.
So they were all living in Stark Tower.
Fair enough.
He outed himself, and then they were already safe and secure. Once he decided to turn, they all left with him, and while on the run, that's when she got shot. So essentially, right after he left the security blanket of Stark, they were attacked.
Okay.
Do I think that there are
and they were attacked by a person who was hired by Kingpin, right?
Right.
There's no Kingpin in this universe. That's what I'm saying. Like, there are no villains that are willing to. He's okay. Has he put away Kingpin? Is my question.
Have you tasted the soup? Did you taste the soup? Just taste the soup.
I don't think he personally has taken down Kingpin.
So in this,
and it didn't even take taking down Kingpin. It was Kingpin getting his ass beat in prison in front of all the guards or all the prisoners that really pissed him off. So it's multiple encounters with Kingpin that was like the impetus for I'm going to kill your damn aunt.
Okay. We did see that Spider-Man stopped. I guess was in a deleted scene, but in the previous trailer for Far From Home, he did stop a crime family. He stopped the mob from killing each other.
Wait, that was in the movie?
That was in Far From Home. It was in the trailer. They cut it from the movie. It's a deleted scene, but he did.
So it
stop
doesn't exist.
I mean, does it or it? That's a question for another time. I think if you live with the idea that deleted scene could have still happened before he left, it can still happen. Thus, he's also stopped other criminals, even if they aren't superpowered. They still have a drive to try and get vengeance against Spider-Man and his friends, and his amazing friends, if you will.
Well, and Spider-Man's a dick. Like when he fights criminals, he is a dick to them. And so, yeah,
he's smart ass. Yeah.
What's up, guys? Forget your pin number?
Whoa, you're the Avengers! What are you guys doing here?
Thor, Hulk. Good to finally meet you guys.
Oh, you'd be more handsome in person. Iron Man! Hey, what are you doing robbing a bank? You're a billionaire. This feels so weird! Whoa, what is that thing? I'm starting to think you're not the Avengers!
Yeah, he's a smart ass. He's not a dick. Maybe Andrew Garfield's a dick.
They're probably viewing it as he's a dick.
Yeah, he stopped them from earning a day's pay by robbing that lady.
Yeah,
he's a dick.
I don't think they refer to him as
rude.
I don't think that. I think they see themselves as the hero in their own story. I think
they might be the hero. And again, you don't have to be a dick to be a villain, though.
You know what? I was going to ask Donald Trump what he thinks of Biden. He's like, oh, he's a dick. It's like, he's actually the good guy. You're a piece of shit. But however you want to frame it, it's how you're going to frame it, psycho man. The Mad King does what he pleases. So I think that they'll choose to see the people who do them ill in any way they choose.
But if they're knowingly breaking the law and whatever this thing
Trump doesn't care that he breaks the law. He's never cared.
No. What I'm saying is that if the threat is I could be stopped doing this, then knowingly, like it'd be different if Spider-Man showed up, they robbed a bank, and he was like, "Don't do it." And they're like, "I didn't know I couldn't do this." Now you're being an asshole, sir.
No,
versus like I know I shouldn't have done this.
Hey,
I think you're finding a lot of. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, not only did you get your carefully planned crime stopped, you got shit talked to you by a teenager.
That's what I'm saying.
You're gonna be a little annoyed.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out.
He talks a lot of shit.
Does he or does he?
Yes.
Yeah, he runs his mouth. That's one thing that's better about Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield.
That's what I'm saying. Tom Holland
and Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew Garfield talks shit. I'm saying,
right, he did. Yeah, that's my point.
That's what
Holland talks shit.
Exactly. Unlike Tobey Maguire, who didn't, and he sucks. Moving on.
Because he's not a dick. I'm saying when Tom Holland not a good actor. Talk shit though during an encounter. Because I mean, you could. His level of discourse has been roughly the same, even when like in Civil War when he's asking questions to Winter Soldier, like, oh, you have a metal arm, stuff like that. Like, it's not being a dick.
Everyone's got a gimmick now.
You have a metal arm? That is awesome, dude. You have the right to remain silent.
But to them, it's kind of an like even Captain or Falcon's like
to them they're like they don't like the kid. They're very bothered by him. They're
Shut
like
the fuck up.
Yeah, I don't think it's a dick move though.
I'm not saying. Go ahead.
No, we're both in the same position of just like, well, I don't know how to decode this for you.
Yeah.
If in the world, if someone doesn't like you, they're going to see you in a negative light. Yeah. So whether like if you're like, oh, look at the way that guy's helping that person bag his groceries. He's such an idiot. He doesn't know how to bag groceries. He's probably doing a just fine job, but you don't like the guy, so everything he does is bad. And so you're just like burning hell grocer guy. And that's
if your argument is just semantic that, well, he's not a dick. Okay, well, then they just don't like him because he's annoying. And he talked shit to them. And so now, I'm going to go get this kid. And they're bad guys anyway, at least by the MCU standards, because they're stealing, robbing, and attacking people. So it's like, well, I'll have my revenge on this whack-ass teenager.
Okay.
Yeah. And also they're looking to make a name for themselves. Any number of reasons that even your standard level criminal, or I shouldn't say, I mean, let's say at least like made man where they have a reputation. Yeah. Like there's a certain level there. Back to a other point you talked about, there was some discussion that Charlie Cox is making an appearance in this movie. And that's why I mentioned that, during his arrest with the DODC, that the person to get him off on these charges could very well be Matt Murdock, which that could be part of this multiverse of madness, is that we get the Netflix actors into some roles in this new timeline once all said and done, which would mean we could very well get Vincent D'Onofrio. Is that the correct actor for Kingpin? We could get a Vincent D'Onofrio Kingpin, which, I mean, I would be very happy to see the majority of those characters come over. I should say I'd be very happy to get all of those characters come over. Maybe not all of those cast members.
Yeah, you can just say you don't want Iron Fist. It's fine. That's
in case Orlando something or other. I don't know his name. What's his name?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I don't need him back. But anyways, yeah, like that'd be rather cool. And we could very well have a Kingpin in this world. But even if we don't, we still have mafiosos that have certain plans, like Spider-Man ruined my day.
There's a lot of angry Italians in Ken's world.
That's the world I live in, man. I just way too much of just like New York is where it's where the most of the Marvel universe lives. It's where the Ninja Turtles are. It's where the Gargoyles were. Like New York is the epicenter. So a lot of those stereotypes of like, okay, so you've got Italian mobsters, Irish cops. You've got you have certain stereotypes, and they're in my head. And I blame media, social media.
That seems fair. Yeah. So, Kareem, in answer to your question, I think it's just going to be a bunch of assholes that make Peter run to Steven, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, at least as far as this movie's being built up, it's going to be a very long movie, a very overstuffed movie in order to get a lot of this stuff done, and has me a little bit worried.
Full disclosure, I'm super excited for the movie. I understand there's a lot of pitfalls involved, but I am very excited for the multiverse. So just anything that's going to give me that, it's fine. I understand all the problems with Sony and everything they're trying to do and shoehorn in.
I just feel like
multiverse. It's fine.
I agree with you. I just feel like if the execution for the beginning of the multiverse is fumbled, you're really just going to be like, there's this thing that they're trying to do.
But here's the good. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, to your point though, the beginning of the multiverse started essentially with
nobody has to watch that. Nobody has to watch that, Ken.
Well, according to some people, they have to.
Yeah, so if you're following my train of logic, they nailed it. If we're following your train of logic, it's up in question still. Yeah,
but I think that for me, just it's a matter of there's so much potential there. Like hypothetically, if we do get Andrew Garfield in a scene or two, we could get Emma Stone in a scene or two as Ghost Spider.
I was going to say as Dead Gwen.
No, she comes from another. She's from another world.
So then we don't need Andrew Garfield.
But for the audience to be able to make a connection, also since we have Jamie Foxx, we would have that. Yeah. And there's no connection
between that though. She's dead in this universe or in their universe.
Yeah, but then she shows up, and then
That's why I said
Spider-Man freaks out.
in another unit. It's a callback to Into the Spider-Verse.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. So and then we actually have live action Nick Cage put on.
See, but now you have
Black
three.
Mask,
Now you have 3 movies going on where Andrew Garfield's gonna have his own movie where he's like, "Oh, you're alive now," and that pushes Tom Holland off the screen. He's got to deal with a live Gwen Stacy.
Okay, yeah, that's his problem. That's our
problem. That's what we're gonna have to watch.
The funniest thing in all of this is, what if this is Sony's plan to finally do Amazing Spider-Man 3? Like that was the goal in all of this. Like, no, we want to finish that Andrew Garfield trilogy. That was all ours. It got kibosh put on it, so we're going to shoehorn this in via the MCU.
I love that they're going to do it midway in the MCU movie.
Yeah,
we're just going to take over.
Yeah. So I guess one last thing we could talk about. We have the possibility of having Dr. Octopus, a Goblin, Green Goblin or other, possibly Lizard because of scenes we've seen, Sandman and Electro. That leaves a 6 slot open in the Sinister Six. If we see Rhino,
Paul Giamatti,
there's no
in a mech suit.
we haven't had any hints towards that, but there is a spot for Venom or Carnage.
Yeah,
because this is a Sony joint.
Wouldn't it just be Morbius at this point?
Morbius hasn't been released yet.
What about what's
and then
Vulture, right?
Also,
when does
Vulture could still be in jail? Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Mysterio is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
But when does the Venom movie come out? Does it come out before or after Spider-Man?
After.
Okay.
I should probably check that though.
Then
I'll just say it emphatically. Comes after.
Done. I heard
Convincing.
it on media. I doubt it's Carnage just because Carnage. That's tough.
I agree. I'm just saying that spot's open. Oh, actually, no. It comes out on October 15th.
Well, then. All right. So maybe how do you put Venom in a role in the Sinister Six at this point?
You don't. Yeah. I mean, Sony's fucked it up enough, but I mean, Sony, they don't give a shit. They could just force it in there. They could put Carnage in there. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, there is without if you don't count the Rhino, because we haven't had any hints towards him. Do you have Venom or Carnage appear?
Who are the original Sinister Six now? I don't remember anymore.
The original Sinister Six
is Craven the other one? No.
I want to say, yeah, he is. He's in the original first iteration of the Sinister Six.
And the other 5 we have are all originals, right?
There's so many.
No, because Vulture's in the original as well.
Electro is the other one. That's Shocker, right?
Right. Well, we have Electro, not Shocker. So.
Okay, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, right, because there was 2 Shockers in the first Tom Holland.
Yep.
Good heavens.
Yes.
Because that would bring us back with what's his name? Is it Donald Glover?
Oh, the Prowler. No, because he was not a Sinister Six member. He was just a guy working, like, looking to get some tech off them.
Gotcha.
Good heavens.
Right. So
the first Sinister Six, the founding members were Doc Ock, Electro, Craven, Mysterio, Sandman, and Vulture. Those were the first.
So we have
6
all those people.
Members. We do have some version of all those characters across the multiverse.
So
except for Craven. Craven hasn't existed. He's supposedly supposed to have a movie in the works from Sony because Sony doesn't give a shit. And
I feel like that should be their tagline in every movie. Just say it's like the Sony logo, and then say, we don't give a shit.
Just fuck it.
Yeah. So yeah, Craven's the only one we don't have a analog for, or any type of kind of current.
No.
What's up?
Craven's going to be the after credit scene of Venom, isn't he?
Well, here's the crazy thing. Hypothetically, so in different iterations, he's just been hunting Spider-Man for sport. So he could be the impetus of he's hunting down Spider-Man, and he's trying to get through him through Ned, his aunt, and Mary Jane, and that drives Peter to say, like, fuck this, wipe some memories. Craven's out there and he's insane. Help me, Doctor Strange. You're my only hope.
Actually, you may have just come up with a better plot than what we're going to get.
I mean,
I was going to say, I wish you were in the room when this was happening, because that's not what we're getting.
If I was in the room, they would have thrown me out long ago for shouting directly at certain people.
But when you said that, think about how hard these Sony execs got. Just, yeah!
We could have already gotten Craven in here.
Somehow they're going to bring Dennis Leary back as a villain.
Dennis Leary, what, as a villain? He was a cop. Well, I mean, depending how you feel about
I said
cops,
he's gonna bring him back as a villain.
Villain.
Angry smoker.
He's on we're paying him. He's on the roster. Bring him back somehow.
He's fine.
Bring him back that lizard stuff.
He can be another firefighter. He likes playing firefighters, right? He's in New York.
He's fine.
He's Irish. It works. See, my iterations of Irish cops have come back again.
And with I just have this mental image of Topher Grace sitting by the phone. I'm sorry, Topher. You deserve better. You deserve better.
I mean, I liked his Venom. At least I liked the build up to it. It made more sense than what we're getting.
Yeah, his problem was that he didn't physically impose, but there's also the expanded idea of what Venom is, and Venom in the comics Eddie was a bodybuilder, but then you add on top of it Venom being the size of a house. Literally, in some issues, he's depicted as being just that massive. So
yeah, but I feel like that's all intuitive perception, though. Like that's something that Topher could have just made. Like him and Venom could have made together. You don't have to be that physically imposing. You can just make the mass. I
agree, but I'm saying that the audience didn't accept it because of that. They needed someone bigger. Not saying that Topher's in his performance, and they did a decent job with the visuals of making him bigger. But it's a lot of I didn't hate Topher in the role. I actually felt like Topher was like, so if Venom's a dark reflection of Peter Parker, that is an alternate version of Peter Parker you have there. So Topher,
Well,
he did the best with what he's given.
Yeah, I mean, I like, as we say, I like the fact that things were taken from him to make him upset with Spider-Man. At least, I mean, this is getting back to Pat's question: how do you make this Venom part of the Sinister Six? And you can't, at least not at this moment. I mean, he has no reason. He has no reason to not like Spider-Man.
He has no reason not like Spider-Man. But between the intelligence of Dr. Octavius and if it's going to be Norman Osborn, there could be some way that they can control and agitate the symbiote to attack Spider-Man.
Just the symbiote by itself?
Or after he sees Carnage, the red one, and then he sees Spider-Man, the red one, he's like, "Arr!"
What's I'm saying?
I don't like red.
Yeah.
Because again, you're taking out the Eddie Brock part of it, which is not the Eddie Brock that we would have gotten. The one that actually does not like Spider-Man. The suit doesn't. Yeah. It's not that the suit doesn't like Spider-Man. Eddie Brock doesn't like Spider-Man.
It's combined.
Wait, no. In which version? Because that's not true. That's not in the Tom. I'm about to say Tom Brady. In the Tom Hardy version, no. In the
Tom Brady, he just keeps winning.
This explains why he can still play.
Yeah, and he's got the ring that deflates footballs. But
just a venom tooth.
Exactly. In the Tom Hardy version, there's no reason. That's why you would need some type of external source to push them to do the bidding of other members on the Sinister Six, because they have the technology. That would be my if I was trying to make this happen, which I'm not. I don't.
What I'm saying is, don't you need Eddie Brock's hatred towards Spider-Man in order to fuel Venom?
Not if you're essentially slapping a control collar on him and making him do it, or you're going to kill his ex-fiance.
Eddie Brock, right?
Yeah.
Or that's what I'm saying. Like, him to think Spider-Man's the bad guy.
Yeah, you exactly. You trick Eddie into thinking like, hey, that's another red symbiote. See what he's doing with his arms and those extra appendages. Those are all. It's a new type of symbiote. You need to stop him. You need to attack him. And that's. I mean, that's
Eddie Brock blind. Like he could see this though.
I mean, he could, but he could. I mean, we don't.
What if Mysterio's there?
You're asking us to make a story where this works. We don't. Yeah. We're not saying that this is what we want. You're saying, oh, shouldn't there be a way? It's like, I mean, you can make it happen however you need to.
We can shoehorn it in. Here, Mysterio tricks him. Done. Mysterio's actually alive. Tricks him. Done. All right, there you go.
Yeah. So like, there's it can be done, and we're not even saying it's done well. We're just saying it can be done.
It would definitely happen in that scenario.
Yeah. It not well, but yes.
Not good. Not for sharing.
Yeah.
That said, it's probably Mephisto that's the sixth member of the Sinister Six.
And then cue the X-Files.
Do we ever think he's ever going to show up in the MCU?
Oh God, it would be amazing if after all this he never shows. I
feel like that's where we're headed towards.
I mean, that's kind of the thing of we didn't. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we don't really need him now at this point.
We don't. I think Multiverse of Madness would be likely the best kind of place for him to pop up, because making like magic and stuff like that, they could be used to solidify some timelines or protect them if we're looking to try and if we're using time verbiage from other stuff to essentially protect their their branch or prune other ones, magic could be used to do that if that's what our plan is.
I think the MCU is going to try and avoid all references of hell and demons, so to speak, and
that's fair.
I mean, just from I believe any sort of reference like that is problematic in China, and they want that money.
I wonder, although they're getting movies not screened in China as of recently, so I'm wondering at some point do they just say we got to go on with our stories if we're not going to be getting like China's clamping down on what they're receiving from Disney as far as like showing it. So if you're banking on like, oh, we were going to get 350 million from just China alone, and we're starting to see like, the residuals not come in, do you just say, F that, we're going to make the movies we finally want to make?
No, because they still want it. It's just like making things PG-13 and not R. Yeah. Like they're like, no, we still want to leave that door open. We don't want to shut off that faucet altogether. Sure, it might not feed us a lot, but we can still get something from it. Let's leave it on.
But if they may be mad now.
Okay.
But,
yeah. And also too, I mean, I think that we're still going to, because we don't know, we're supposed to get another Deadpool. And
because I think they're having trouble with Shang-Chi or whatever as of now. And I'm like, if that's giving you issues.
There's a particular, sorry, Ken, go ahead.
No, I didn't say, I think that's for different reasons.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's but this isn't the first one is what I'm saying. This is in line with some other ones, like Black Widow was having an issue. Like they're China's finding issues with recent MCU releases.
I would say a lot of that may have to do with Shang-Chi.
Okay.
There's issues there, historical issues and just modern issues when it comes to that are there could be some retaliation there, I'll say.
I don't see them again. I see us. They may see it as like, oh, it's not the cash cow that it once was, but then why then don't necessarily like, oh, just throw the baby out with the bathwater. We could just address it in the next movie so that they, they're not going to buy Shang-Chi, but they're going to buy the, next Captain America movie, maybe. Although
my question is if they start buying them less often or the numbers are coming back, like you spend 250 million to make a movie and you're banking on getting 500 million back and you're only getting 300, like you start to see the revenues decrease because you're building budgets on what you thought China was going to do. At some point when you just say like, well, let's go with what we know is going to work versus like, let's hoping that they take it from us.
Again, I think, I'm sorry to cut you off, Patrick. Again, I think it's just a matter of like, that's like, yes, we're not getting as much as we thought we would, but still why because I don't adjusting your budget, you're adjusting the way the movies are made, like how big a movie you can make. But you don't need to adjust the type of stories you tell. You're still just, well, you do if you don't have the money to tell those stories. But I'm saying like, you don't have to be like, oh, well now let's make all the anti-China movies we need to make. I didn't say you had to make anti-China. But that's what I'm saying. Like you're saying like, well, what, like, no, I'm just saying you make the movies that you want to make. If China takes, they already are making the movies they want to make. No, they're making movies that they know China will take, and they're making adjustments in those movies dependent on that. I would say I know nothing like about this in reality, so who knows if any of it. You haven't talked to Feige for like a week, so yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's just, but I would, my guess would be, they're viewing it as a problem now that can be solved. So they're not going to stir up that hornet's nest. Okay. They would, until there's a full-on ban or some such thing that shows that relationship is dead, that China is completely like cut off the Hollywood film industry. I think they'll just continue to play it safe. Yeah. Okay. Because yes, I mean, that's kind of the biggest market now. So, I mean, it is. I mean, they still are going to try and please the American audience because that's part of that. But it's essentially like saying like, well, no, we'll just choose to ignore, even if it's only 300 million as opposed to 500. They're not going to ignore $300 million. Yeah, that's not. Just not. That's still $300 million. No, so but I think. As we're talking dollars, okay. I think we know what you're talking about. We just still don't think they're going to alter their plans. No, but I don't know if we're taking open. At least I don't know if I'm not, or if you guys take into consideration that
when you build out a budget for a movie and the story you're going to tell, the actors you're going to cast, the directions you're going to go in, if that budget starts to get tampered, like, you just don't get the open checkbook that you used to make that, then you start to have to make writing decisions, story decisions as well. But
you're going to see that decision made because of the Eternals and Shang-Chi. That's where that decision is coming from. If those movies are not successful, I think you'll see a hard pivot on some things.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not going to be based off of Mephisto. That's not going to alter their choices. So
unless Mr. Lead Eternal is Mephisto. Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for the sound bites. Like, we need a soundboard. Like,
you're gonna
wah, wah, wah. I cannot remember nor be bothered to remember all of the Eternals things. So
I don't care.
I don't think Eternals is gonna do very well.
I'm gonna see the movie.
So are you Ant-Manning this? Are you Ant-Manning?
I'm never Ant-Manning again. Not gonna commit to this.
This is the moment.
Well, his Ant-Man was very strong. I'm like, what if it comes on Netflix? Like, no, why waste the time? I'm like, it's free. It's already included in your package. It's like, no. I'm like, so if Lisa turned it on, I'd walk out of the room. That's Ant-Manning. That's what you got. You're like, the line is drawn in the sand, and I will not cross.
That's what I was telling Ken that I'm like, I'm worried, but and maybe that's a good thing because I was worried for Ant-Man. So,
I mean, I wouldn't worry too much. They've got the next 6 movies, and Spider-Man's going to be a big hit. Doctor Strange will be a big hit. But it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's just I think I just don't find the Eternal storyline. I mean, unless it ties in somehow massively back into the MCUs, I feel like their storyline has been set apart just like they set themselves apart from everything. Yeah. Now it's like, well, why should we care? You guys didn't care about us. Why should we care about you?
That's fair.
No, we did though. We did it from afar. That's why there was one set of footsteps. I was carrying Eternals. Yay!
That's it. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.